Hello, storyboarded audience. This is Ed, and today, well, for this video, I'm going to go through all the Harry Potter films and review them. I watched them a long time ago. The last time I watched them was probably about 2 years ago, and now I'm going through the series all over again. One thing I can say about this series is it's an interesting series, and I see the appeal of it. I grew up watching it on VHS, then DVD, and now I'm watching it on Blu-ray. And I've seen stores that have released like a 4K kind of thing of it, but the main point of this is I'm going to go movie by movie and kind of describe the movie and give my thoughts on what I thought of it, re-seeing it. So, this is Ed Explains the Movies. This episode focuses on Harry Potter, the whole 8 films. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So I just finished up seeing this movie, and I just wanted to go over what the movie's about and some stuff I noticed as I saw it again after a long while. Okay, so the opening scene is with Dumbledore and Miss McGonagall. They drop into a neighborhood and they drop off Harry. Now, Hagrid is the groundskeeper at Hogwarts. And that's the school, the magical school that wizards go to. So I want to state that out there. And Miss McGonagall's a teacher at Hogwarts, and Dumbledore's the headmaster of Hogwarts. About 10 years later, it cuts to. But before it cuts to 10 years, I should probably mention that baby Harry has a scar on him, and it's because of his losing his parents, and Voldemort being the cause of it. And that is made known to the wizarding world, making Harry Potter a celebrity. They pretty much say in the opening sequence that Harry Potter is a celebrity because of the tragedy that has happened to him, which gave him the scar. Now, we get to 10 years later, and Harry lives with the Dursleys, who are the closest thing the family has, as far as, like, blood family goes. And the Dursleys are not wizard folk. They're the exact opposite, and they do not like wizards at all. Not one. And, they have a spoiled child named Dudley. There's a scene in there where they go to a zoo, and Mr. Dudley had already told Harry, no funny business. But Harry, not knowing that he's a wizard, and he gets angry with Dudley, ends up getting Dudley behind a exhibit using his wizard ability, and releasing the snake into freedom. The snake was bred in captivity, briefly mentioned. But yeah, it is also shown that Harry can talk to snakes. That's important for, when I get into talking about later movies, too. Harry gets invited to Hogwarts, and that becomes an issue with the Dursleys and stuff because they do not want Harry having a letter. And Harry's about ready to celebrate his 11th birthday when he gets to meet Hagrid. And Hagrid takes him away from the Dursleys. And when that happens, he's very happy to leave. Because the Dursleys treating him like crap. and he was lied to by them as well. He was told that his parents were killed in a car crash, but really it was Voldemort that killed them. I'm going off the notes here. I got like detailed notes, like so Harry and Hagrid, the tall groundskeeper of Hogwarts, they go on a get ready for school, kind of get school supplies kind of trip, and it goes right into the Wizarding World, an area of the Wizarding World, and what happens is Harry gets an owl. He also gets an opportunity to have his wand. That's a great moment in the film when the wand chooses him. And it turns out that the wand is like a sibling of the wand that gave him the scar. So pretty much it's related to Dumbledore's wand in some kind of way. And that's mentioned in the film. And Harry ends up going on a train. Like Hagrid's like, you're on your own, alright, to find the train 9 3/4. That train, after all the supplies were gotten for Harry. And he first has trouble finding it, but then he runs into the Weasley family. There's two redheaded twin brothers who are look to be like 13, 14 years old. Like they're older than Harry. Then there's Ginny Weasley, who's shown. She's a bit younger. She's got red hair, long red hair. The whole Weasley family is redheaded. Kind of like me with my red hair. And the Weasley mother explains to Harry that her son Ron, it's his first time going to Hogwarts as well. And she shows him how to get onto the 9 3/4 platform. And then they're on the train. And that's where he meets Hermione as well. And once he gets into Hogwarts, he finds an enemy in Malfoy who tries to befriend him, but Harry's just like, nah. Harry just sees Malfoy as like a douche, I guess, from the very start. And the next scene, they are sorted into houses by a hat. And Harry sees Ron and Hermione get into Gryffindor. And he sees Malfoy get into Slytherin. And he's heard that Slytherin is the place for all the bad wizards. And Harry's just like, I don't want to be a bad wizard, and I don't like Malfoy. So he's saying to the hat, anything but Slytherin. Please, not Slytherin. And the hat's just like, okay, but you'd be great for Slytherin. So, he ends up in Gryffindor with Hermione and Ron. Then we get to a scene where Ron hurts Hermione's feelings, and she goes to the girls' bathroom to cry. And there's a CGI giant troll character. And I gotta tell you, in this film, there's some CGI moments that are used that they don't necessarily add up great nowadays. They're not necessarily that great of effects. Like, for example, the troll itself. The troll looks very, very poorly CGI'd, in my opinion. Like, compared to movies I see now that overuse CGI to a level that's very detailed. But back in like 2001 when this film was made, CGI was able to do some cool stuff, but it wasn't as detailed as it is now, I feel. But it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool seeing the troll and the CGI interaction between Harry and the troll and stuff like that. That was pretty neat. Then there's flying lessons. There's two characters I didn't mention yet that I should probably kind of mention at this point. One is the character named Neville, and in this film he's shown to be a klutz in every way. And then there's the character of Seamus, who apparently can't do wizard spells very well because he, like every spell, something explodes. That's kind of like a gag in this film, where there's a few scenes where Seamus is about ready to do some magic, and he's just like, you know, we're just like, wait, what? So, yeah, so Seamus has a way of just blowing things up. And Neville is a klutz in this first film. Now in the flying lessons that I'm on now, Neville, he gets on the broom and he just starts flying, and it leads to a clumsy scenario where he gets hurt and is carried off to the nurse's station. And Harry is put into a situation where he's got to retrieve something of Neville's from Malfoy, who's being a douche. And he's shown to be a good potential Quidditch player. And he's brought into Quidditch. And he's brought on the team. And when he's brought on the team and he gets a chance to play, he does a great job, and he catches a snitch, though it feels kind of clumsy when he actually catches it, because he catches it in his mouth by falling into it. But he does a good job. He gets like 110 points and he wins the game for everybody. So he's doing very well as a Quidditch player. Now, there's another scene in the film that I think is shortly after the Quidditch, winning Quidditch. There's a scene where Dumbledore and Harry discuss a mirror. In the mirror, Harry can see his parents and stuff like that. And basically the mirror is something that shows people what they want to see. It doesn't add anything, it doesn't help anybody, it just shows people what they want to see, or wizards what they want to see. But to any non-wizard, it's just nothing. So Harry gets caught up in that for a little bit, and Dumbledore sets him straight by just saying that you just need to let it go, Harry, and he does. And then there's a cool holiday scene where Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they celebrate the holidays. Ron and Harry playing wizard's chess. That's important for later on in the film. Kind of symbolizes what's coming next. And in the movie, on Christmas Day, Harry gets an invisibility cloak, which is very rare. He finds out about Nicholas Flamel and the Sorcerer's Stone, but nothing more than really that. And what protects the stone is a three-headed dog. And there's a scene in there where Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they are talking to Hagrid about his dragon egg. And they're caught by Malfoy. And Malfoy tells on Harry, but it really doesn't help him any because he's sentenced to the same thing as Harry. and the other three. He's sent to detention. And the weird thing is detention is pretty much going right back to Hagrid and helping Hagrid out, pretty much. Like, I think that's kind of a weird punishment in the film. Is like, okay, Harry, you were caught hanging with Hagrid. We're gonna punish you. You're gonna go to detention. But detention's with Hagrid, so go hang with him. You know, that's kind of a weird thing I noticed in the film, is like how he ends up still going back to Hagrid. Like, the whole group, it's like walking back in the same situation. But there's more to this. Hagrid's going into the dark forest, which is spooky, and Unicorn was hurt by a beast, and Harry almost gets killed by it. And it turns out that beast was Voldemort. And in this film, throughout the film, Harry distrusts this character named Snape, played by Alan Rickman. And Harry's scar kind of warns him of danger. That's kind of a point they get across in the film. And Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they get information saying that, or some kind of information that says that the Sorcerer's Stone's going to be taken. Basically by something Hagrid hinted that he did. And Harry's just like, wait a minute. The Sorcerer's Stone might be taken. And Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they realize that they gotta go do something about it. And they're confronted by Neville, who tries to stop them from doing anything about retrieving the Sorcerer's Stone before somebody can take it. And he is frozen by Hermione. And using the invisibility cloak, they confront the three-headed dog, who was already affected by an intruder because music was playing, and a spell brought on the music, and it was by another wizard who got in there. And luckily Hermione, Harry, and Ron don't get hurt by the dogs, but they do wake up briefly before they can go down to start retrieving the Sorcerer's Stone. When they escape the three-headed dogs, they face the Devil's Snare, which in order for them to get on to the next step, they have to relax, and they go through the Devil's Snare, which is basically like it's like tree roots that grab you, and if you relax, you go through it on the next step. But Ron's like freaking out the whole time, so Hermione has to shine like a light to like on her wand, do a spell that releases Ron. And that leads to the next step, where Harry has to pick a key from a flying area, and there's a broom that's waiting for him, and he basically has to use what he knows from Quidditch to get the key to open the door to the last step, which is Wizard's chess game, which is what Ron's really good at. And Ron, knowing a lot about Wizard's chess, he knows how to win it. And he ends up sacrificing himself in the game. But he's okay. He's good. One thing I noticed about this scene, with the Wizard chess scene, is that there's a little thing I noticed where there's a sit-in for Ron, like for about 5-6 seconds in the movie, And one thing you notice, like when you have like in high definition nowadays, they restore films, making them look better than you remember seeing them. I remember watching them on VHS and I just couldn't point out anything like that. But now in HD I can see it and I can go, oh wait, that's interesting. But one of them was, there was a sit-in for Ron as he's getting knocked down from the chessboard scene. Or actually riding in that scene as well. And you can just tell that's just not him. I thought that was an interesting thing to see, because things become clear and you can kind of tell, like, in certain parts who's in the scene and who's not. I just thought that was interesting. Ron helps Harry go on to the last step, which is basically Harry has to face Quirrell alone, and Voldemort's attached to Quirrell. The back of his head, this. It's like, Harry Potter, we meet again. You know, that kind of thing. And you find out that Quirrell, who was shown earlier in the film, who had this kind of stutter quality to him, basically faked it. And he's been working for Voldemort. And he's kind of, at the start of the film, you think that he's like an innocent, he's innocent, you know, in some kind of way. Like he's just this nice guy, nice professor. But nope, not even remotely. And Harry finds out that Snape, who he distrusted, was just trying to help him this whole time. And Quill ends up getting destroyed when Harry touches him. And Harry wakes up to Dumbledore greeting him. He explains that Ron and Hermione are okay, and the stone's destroyed. Nick Flamel lived long. Well, you figured out that Nick Flamel has lived like 600 years. But with him having to now destroy the Sorcerer's Stone because to prevent any other instances like this, that pretty much ends him as well, which is unfortunate. But he was the protector of the stone, so. And you find out that what destroyed Quirrell, or Voldemort, was the power of love. And I'm not sure what that necessarily means, but yeah. And then you find out that Voldemort will return, that there's a way they will return, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, probably, yeah. At the end, there's a scene with every flavor of beans, which is a kind of thing. I found it in a store. I actually tried it. Yeah, it was terrible. It sucked. But yeah, if you have a chance to try an every flavor bean, just don't do it. But the ending of the film has Harry meeting back with Hermione and Ron, and they get back on the train and head home. Before they head home, Harry gets like a book from Hagrid, which is a family photo album of him and his parents. And the interesting thing about the Wizarding World of Harry Potter is that photos move. They're like little videos. Looping videos, I believe. But they move. And that's kind of a neat thing to see. The paintings move as well in the movie. And that's kind of a neat thing to see. And what you can also see is that newspapers and stuff like that, they're not like just a picture. They're just, there shows more. Kind of like looking at a little screen within a newspaper and going, huh. You know? So I saw that as interesting. As a side note, I noticed I think 3 stand-ins throughout the movie. Or at least I think I did. There's a scene that I mentioned with Ron, who when he briefly for like maybe 5 seconds in the chest scene, and a little like maybe 1 or 2 seconds when there's a falling scene. There was also one near the end where Harry falls and stuff like that. I think that was a stunt double. I think it was for that scene. And last but not least is Hagrid. There's some parts where I think that I could get a glimpse of somebody sitting in for Hagrid who is like legitimately tall. I don't know how tall the actor who played Hagrid was, but I do think that they had a few stand-ins for him. Yeah. I don't know, I like pointing out what I think I see in a film that I thought was interesting. I study film and yeah, I really get a kick out of noticing those kind of things. But yeah, so that concludes the Sorcerer's Stone film. On to the Chamber of Secrets. It's gonna be a one-take kind of thing. All right. Let's start out with the Chamber of Secrets is what I'm talking about right now. I got quite a few pages in on this. 2 pages. This is the longest notes I was able to take on the film. The rest of them are shorter. So yeah. The film begins with Harry being taller. He has got like a deeper voice. He keeps his owl in the house, in the Dursley's house. And they treat Harry slightly better, giving him like a room that he can be in. And then all of a sudden this house elf appears, whose name is Dobby. And he's a bit of an annoyance, saying, "Bad Dobby, bad Dobby." You know, because he's like a house elf who's like an indentured servant, pretty much in the wizarding world. And that's pretty much what Dobby is. Now, he doesn't want Harry to return to Hogwarts, and Harry really wants to go. So there's a conflict of Dobby floating a kind of like a birthday cake onto guests that the Dursleys had over. And Harry is the only one in sight to blame. That Dobby doesn't make himself visible to the Dursleys. So Harry gets in big trouble and his windows get locked. They lock him inside the room. And luckily, Ron and his 2 redheaded brothers managed to save Harry. And yeah, that was a really neat sequence. They end up taking Harry to their house, where you can see more of Mrs. Weasley, and you can also see Mr. Weasley appear. Like he wasn't in the first movie, but he made his first appearance in the second movie. And yeah, it's pretty neat. He's very kind of like the opposite of how Mrs. Weasley is. Like she's strict and stern. He's more like, oh, it's all good kind of thing. So now there's a sequence where they have to go to Diagon Alley for just the next thing they all have to do. I think to get ready for school, get supplies and whatnot. They have to go down there, and all the Weasleys, they get it right, but Harry, he doesn't know how like transportation powder works. It ends up saying diagonally in a way that's not necessarily the right way to pronounce it. Or he says it too fast, and he ends up briefly in the wrong side of the wizarding world. Pretty much wrong side of the main wizarding town. And there's a portion where there's a book signing. Harry ends up there. Luckily, because Hagrid found him and pulled him out of that situation. And there you meet Lucius Malfoy. They get to know where Draco gets his attitude from, pretty much. And then the next thing that happens is that Gilderoy Lockhart, he's like the main character in this film. A very important kind of character. And what he does is he has a lot of books out. And a lot of wizards read his books, and they see his exploits as amazing. And let's see. He notices Harry, gives him like all of his books, which is pretty neat. Hermione and Draco kind of have like a little quarrel in the movie, I bet, due to the term learning of something called mudblood, which is basically like some kind of thing where like neither parents are magical. The one child is. I'm not sure how that one works actually, but yeah. It's kind of an issue in the film, or something like that. And there's a portion where they get to Hogwarts, and Gilderoy's teaching dark arts classes, and he lets these pixies loose, and that causes a big issue. Neville gets stuck on lights, and luckily he's brought down, but like, yeah, his character throughout the first two movies is definitely very kind of clumsy and stuff like that. Malfoy becomes a seeker, like Harry, and I think he bought his way in, pretty much. That's into that. He calls Hermione Mudblood, and that leads to Ron defending her with a broken wand, which really doesn't help the situation. But what I forgot to mention in it is, like, before they get really into Hogwarts in that sequence, there's a part where they miss the train, Ron and Harry, which leads to a flying car sequence. Now, I gotta put that out there. The flying car sequence, that's really awesome. Very interesting. So that was fun to watch. Really was. And they almost get expelled, but luckily Dumbledore saves their butt out of the deal. Well, luckily Dumbledore saves them out of the deal is what I'm trying to say. And yeah. And then you find out that Gilderoy is a head teacher at Hogwarts, teaches dark arts, and he's not very good at it. And you find out Malfoy becomes a seeker, and it calls Hermione a Mudblood. Ron has a broken wand, so ends up turning a spell on himself, and it pretty much has to wear off, but it's pretty much like eat snails, and he's like spitting out snails. It's pretty gross. That's a gross scene in the film. Harry gets detention for the flying car part of the film, where he pretty much flies right into Hogwarts, landing in a tree and causing damage on some level. Yeah. While he's in detention with Gilderoy Lockhart, he hears a voice, And it's quite eerie in this film. He finds like a blooded wall talking about the Chamber of Secrets being open, and Felch, who's like a janitor, is basically that's his cat. His cat's petrified, which is basically like turned to like a wax figure, just like, you know, like paused, like stopped in motion. And luckily they're able to save the cat. The Felch blames Harry for everything. Snape actually kind of defends Harry, but also questions Harry at the same time. And apparently hearing voices isn't good in the wizarding world. That's an issue. You find out more about the Chamber of Secrets, and Harry and Ron suspect that Draco is the heir of Slytherin who could have opened the Chamber of Secrets or had something to do with it. And they take a polyjuice potion, which basically turns them into Crabbe and Goyle once they get the hair of Crabbe and Goyle, which they do in a way that's kind of interesting. Okay, Crabbe and Goyle, they see like a flying cupcakes, and I don't know. I think if I was somebody who saw flying cupcakes in a hallway, I don't think I'd start eating them. You know, but that's what they do, and that knocks them out, and that's how they Harry and Ron get the hair and are able to become Crabbe and Goyle, which is a neat sequence. Then there is a and they don't find much out of the deal in the film when that happens. Like they just find out that Draco doesn't have anything to do with the Chamber of Secrets. That's about it. There's a wizard tournament, Harry against Draco, and there's a bludger that goes rogue. Harry gets hurt. Gilderoy tries to fix him, but really just turns his bones to rubber. In fact, pretty much there's no bones because of Gilderoy's spell, which is pretty fudged up. So it's like his arm's like rubber. Kind of an interesting portion of the film. Now Dobby actually caused the bludger incident, apparently, because Harry's in the medical wing at Hogwarts, and Dobby comes in and kind of confesses, and it's like, oh geez, Dobby, what the hell? There's a photographer kid in that film who he gets petrified, and then there's a Snape versus Gilderoy wand duel, Harry versus Draco wand duel, which lead to Harry talking to a snake, which is an issue in the film. Myrtle the Ghost is introduced, who is a central kind of ghost character in this film. There's a part where Harry finds the diary of Tom Riddle, and it shows him the past, like actually shows him it instead of like telling him about the past, which is pretty neat. And I think the past that's shown is like 50 years prior, and Tom Riddle watches Moaning Myrtle's body being drug out and carried out of Hogwarts. He passes a younger Dumbledore and confronts a younger Hagrid. Now Neville shows Harry, Hermione, and Ron that his room's been messed with, and the diary has now vanished. You know, that's as soon as the diary shows Harry the information, it pretty much goes vanishes shortly after in the film. And then there's a scene where Hermione gets petrified, like Felch's cat, the photographer kid. And those petrification incidences in the chamber being open, Hogwarts, faces being possibly closed. Hagrid may have some answers, so Harry and Ron, they take on the invisibility cloak and head down to see Hagrid, who tells them to go see Aragog, who's a huge spider. And Aragog pretty much says that Hagrid's innocent, but it wasn't really a great idea for Harry and Ron to go see him because he has the intention of eating Ron and Harry, who luckily get away due to the flying car coming back and saving them pretty much. After that, there's a girl who's been abducted by the monster, Ginny Weasley. Ron is horrified, and it turns out that this basilisk beast that was introduced in the film, which is, I think, a big snake. I think that's the way to describe what basilisk is. And Myrtle saw it, and that's what killed her. But others conveniently had a glimpse of it through like a mirror or like a reflection of some kind, and that's why they're not dead. Harry and Ron find out that Gilderoy Lockhart is a fraud. Harry and Ron confront Lockhart and force him into the chamber with them so that they can save the day. Lockhart tries to pull something, pretty much a obliviate spell. Well, a memory spell which is supposed to take away their memories, so he can take credit for saving the day, some kind of stuff. Ron and Harry get separated by a stone. Harry must face the beast while Ron clears an exit. Ginny's unconscious in the chamber while Tom Riddle's there, and Harry at this point is thinking Tom Riddle's a good guy, but he reveals that he is not, and that he is trying to live once more. But in order for him to do that, Ginny must die, and Harry just luckily is able to have help by the from this bird that can basically, it's Dumbledore's bird. It can recreate itself. Basically it dies, and from its ashes it comes up. I think it's called a phoenix. That comes and saves Harry in a way by blinding the big snake, and that helps Harry kill this big snake. And the bird also helps Harry when he gets his arm, venom goes through his arm or something like that in the film. And luckily the phoenix saves him, something like that. He stops Tom Riddle by stabbing the book, the diary, with a basilisk fang. And at the end, Dumbledore talks with Harry, and Harry just feels like he questions himself. And Dumbledore has the message of, it's the choices that make you who you are, and that's a good point to have. And that helps Harry make a decision to help Dobby by putting like an article of clothing within a book, and he hands it to Dobby, and that's supposed to mean like a sign that, okay, since Dobby's handed a piece of clothes, now he's free, and now Dobby becomes a free elf. And Lucius Malfoy is really pissed. He appears at the end of the film, and Harry blames him for all these causes, since he knows that Dobby is Lucius's house elf, so Dobby's been trying to help Lucius this whole time. So, yeah, putting two and two together, he put the Malfoys as the cause. Okay, at the end, everybody's back to normal. And Hagrid's back. He was sent off briefly to Azkaban, but luckily things didn't follow through. Thank goodness. As the movie concludes, I wanted to just mention that the original guy who played Dumbledore, I think he died like shortly after making this film, and there was another guy who plays Dumbledore that takes over for him in the next movies. I think in comparing the two Dumbledores, the original has this kind of the way he talks, he sounds like he's always kind of quieter. He's kind of a quieter Dumbledore. Walks around going, Harry Potter, you did good, boy. Something like that. And the other one's like Harry Potter. You know, he's got like a little bit of a voice to him. And I don't know how fans necessarily originally took to him, but I thought he did a good job. And you know, you got to continue the series, so they had to, you know, get somebody else to play Dumbledore, especially since Dumbledore's a key character, so very understandable. Alright, I'm going to be moving on to Harry Potter and oh my gosh, I got all these here. The Prisoner of Azkaban. Okay. By the third film, Harry has grown a lot. And his aunt visits, and she's just mean to Harry. And Harry, he's in that teenage kind of rebellion phase, and he turns her with witchcraft into kind of like a balloon, and she flies away. Though he's not like using his wand. It's like when a wizard gets angry or something like bad stuff happens. Well, this is one of those situations where she angered him enough that, you know, his abilities kind of caused her to float away. Harry has a lot of anger, and he walks away from the Dursleys. The third film definitely has like a shift in the way it's filmed. The first two films, yeah, they got some dark elements to them, but the way they're shot is like a kid's film, like a kid's happy-go-lucky kind of film. Now Harry gets on a bus. It's a wizard bus that speeds like crazy. Sirius Black is in the paper for escaping Azkaban. He supposedly supported Voldemort. Harry's aunt's set back to normal. You hear that, like, okay, everything's gonna go back to normal. No charges against Harry. Harry has a book on monsters that acts like a monster as well. The book's got the fangs. It's got like the whole kind of thing to it. I just thought that was kind of funny. Ron's father tells Harry Sirius Black is connected to Voldemort. Ron brings Rat on train. Now, the rat's named Scabbers. Scabbers was introduced in the first film. It was Ron's pet, and in the second film a little bit. But now in the third film, Ron brings Rat on train. Dementors appear. People learn reading tea leaves. Harry has an omen of death. Professor Lupin teaches dark arts class, which shows people worst fears, but he helps them combat that with a thing called ridiculous. Like you say that, and then, you know, that turns whatever you fear into something silly. Snape teaches about werewolves in the class. A rainy Quidditch game leads to Harry being attacked by a Dementor and ending up in a medic wing. His broom gets broken. I think in all three of the films, Harry somehow, in some way, either almost gets hurt or definitely gets hurt. Pretty much in like all the films. As I marathon them, I know it's like that's just the thing. The first film, he fell and he ended up spitting what was it? It's like a little flying device thing in his mouth. It was in his mouth. And the second one, the rogue bludger hurting him. And this with the Dementors causing him to end up in the hospital wing. Yeah, but luckily Dumbledore saves Harry in this one, and Harry can't explore Hogsmeade due to needing a guardian sign off, and since he doesn't have parents, it's widely known, you know, he can't really go out and enjoy himself, you know, and have like candies like the others, and you know, just explore Hogsmeade, that's what the place is called. Harry's given the Marauders map by Ron Weasley's brothers, which is very helpful in helping them find where people are. Ron and Hermione have some tension in this film a little bit. A little bit. You kind of see it. Kind of like romantic tension. Revenge. With Lupin's help, Ron lost his rat. Hagrid is frustrated due to an incident where Draco got hurt by a mystical flying creature named Buckbeak, and the committee rules Buckbeak must die. Harry has to turn over a map, and he tells Lupin he saw Peter Pettigrew on the map, which is very suspicious because Peter is supposed to be dead. Ron, Harry, and Hermione have to deal with Scabbers running away, and Ron gets dragged into a tree. Harry and Hermione have to face the moving tree, but they get inside. Sirius Black's introduced, and Lupin, the friend Sirius Black. Lupin is the friend of Sirius Black, but they're not. Turns out they're not the problem. Turns out Ron's rat is Peter Pettigrew, and Peter's the bad guy. Sirius Black says Harry could live with him, and there's a scene where Lupin becomes a werewolf. Snape puts in an effort to protect Harry, but Sirius Black is badly injured trying to save everyone from a werewolf, Lupin. But luckily, Harry's able to save Sirius Black. Dumbledore suggests going back in time, and this is my favorite part of the film, is when I love time travel in films. In this film, my favorite sequence is near the end where they all have to time travel back, so you get to see Harry and Hermione go back in time, and you get to see them kind of look back on a situation you already saw at one angle, just a different angle, and that's kind of neat. And luckily they're able to fix the problems by reliving the past, and then they get back. They pretty much get back to where they started, and it ends with Harry riding a broom away, and yeah, that ends the movie. I'd like to briefly mention about the time turner thing element in this film, which is neat. It's neat to introduce a element that is supposed to help a character, specifically Hermione. She's a neat character, but they introduce this time turner as a way to go back in time, all right, and really help the situation. But really, it's mostly used throughout the film to help Hermione get to all the classes that she needs to get to. But in my opinion, I think basic scheduling should be able to fix that. And when the time turner is not used in any of the other movies, I think that's quite a waste to introduce the time turner when it's not going to have any use in the future. Just no use in the future books. But I did enjoy the film, though, honestly. It's honestly one of my favorites out of the Harry Potter series. I think out of the 8 of them, like 5 are my definite favorite. Okay. Now we're on to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I'll try to get through these the best I can. So opening, Harry has a dream where Voldemort's planning to attack. And Harry sees a gardener get killed in his dream because Gardner walks in on Voldemort doing his plans and stuff. And his minions kill him. Kill the gardener. Harry, Ron, and Hermione go to a quiz championship where Voldemort's henchmen appear, and that causes a ruckus. And I think the quiz match was quite, championship thing was interesting to see. Harry and Ron have a feud. Harry is entered into the tournament, and that's part of that's what leads to the Ron and Harry feud, is the tournament thing, which Harry didn't even enter into himself. He didn't even enter it. There's a character who's introduced called Mad-Eye Moody. He's a central character, and he has part, I think, in really getting Harry into the tournament. Now the first challenge is getting an egg from a dragon. There's briefly a Yule Ball in between the first challenge and the second challenge, which is kind of funny to see. There's an awkward dance scene between McGonagall and Ron. Hagrid has a romance with a tall woman. Harry likes a girl named Cho, but she's going with someone else. The Diggory Boy, who's introduced in the Goblet of Fire film, he becomes a tournament. He's entered into the tournament as well. Hermione dates Victor Crumb. Ron's jealous. The whole dance sequence is a bit silly, but fun to watch. There's a whole dance sequence in there. It's during the Yule Ball, I believe, and you get like a rendition of Dancing with Myself kind of deal, and it's called Dancing with an Elf. And they try to fit mystical creatures into the song, and I'm just going, what? I just thought that was funny. I just thought that was cheesy and funny. Though Ron's jealousy gets to be a little bit too much, and he ruins Hermione's fun. Cedric repays Harry for helping him by explaining the prize egg goes in the water. Neville helps Harry survive underwater for the hour it takes to complete the challenge. Harry saves Ron and the girl from the lake. Ron looks like a hero. And Harry's able to get out, getting in second place. Harry meets Martinus briefly, and Mad-Eye gives him a strange look. Moments later, he's found dead. Harry sees a water mystic bowl, looks inside and sees a trial of Igor Kokrov and how he got released. And you find out this name's a spy of some kind. Marty Crouch Jr., Martinus Crouch's son, is working for Voldemort. Snape congratulates Harry on win, but lectures Harry on stealing potions. There's a final challenge, a maze which drives people mad. First person to grab the cup wins. Harry and Cedric grabbed the cup together, and the cup was a ruse. It led to a graveyard where Cedric's killed by a Avada Kedavra spell. That's like the ultimate bad spell in Harry Potter. Avada Kedavra just kills somebody. Voldemort's brought to prominence, humanish form, but he's missing like his nose kind of look. He doesn't look quite human, but he's more alive in this new form than he was in the previous films. Voldemort versus Harry, and it's a very brief match, and Harry's able to get out of it, luckily, and get back to the beginning of the tournament with Cedric's body, which is kind of which is a very sad scene. Geez, these Harry Potter films are so sad. And Mad-Eye Moody, it turns out, isn't really Mad-Eye Moody, but one of Voldemort's minions in disguise, using a kind of polyjuice potion to, well, it is a polyjuice potion, which was introduced in the second film. And that's what's keeping Mad-Eye Moody in the Mad-Eye Moody form, kind of deal. Well, that's what makes the minion look like Mad-Eye Moody. And the real Mad-Eye Moody's okay, but was kept in this box, miniaturized. And the film, near the end, holds Cedric's memorial, where the entire school is just sitting there listening to how Cedric Diggory is a good guy and stuff like that. Okay, for this portion of the video, the audio is not going to really link up too greatly. I ran out of footage on my camera, and I decided to record the audio via microphone. Alright, in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry has a fight with Dudley outside of a playground when Dementors come in. And Harry saves Dudley, but faces a trial and expulsion. Harry connects with fellow wizards and hears about the Order of the Phoenix, a group to fight Voldemort. Harry wants to join. Dumbledore walks in, saving Harry on the trial. Like when the trial comes up, Dumbledore saves Harry from it. And Umbridge is introduced. She wants to convict Harry. Dumbledore separates himself from Harry throughout this film, kind of keeping his distance, and that bothers Harry. Sirius Black becomes kind of like a father figure for Harry. He explains things via pictures. Well, one picture of James and Lily Potter that he has. Umbridge takes over the school, and she punishes Harry using a pen that leaves a mark on its user, because the pen writes in the user's blood, which is disturbing. It's quite a punishment. Fred and George, Ron's twin brothers, sell gag gifts to other students. Harry feels hurt and alone at Hogwarts. He connects with a white-haired girl named Luna, who is introduced as an odd character. He learns a lot from Luna. She says Harry solo isn't much, but an army may threaten Voldemort. Basically, she's kind of hitting at Dumbledore's army. She's like, if Harry has to face Voldemort alone, that's a problem for Harry. But he's more of a threat if he has an army. So, there's a scene where Umbridge starts firing people. Harry starts the Dumbledore's army. Neville finds a secret room, the Room of Requirement, which becomes the prime location for Dumbledore's army. Wizards prepare and better their magic abilities as they practice with one another. Harry has a brief romance with Cho Chang. Draco is a snitch for Umbridge. Neville gets good at spells. There's a brief lingering of Cedric Diggory's memory from the fourth film. That's shown a little bit. Cedric's kind of mentioned a little bit. Harry has a dream where Nagini hurts Ron's father. Harry tells Dumbledore, who seems distant, Ron's father's saved. Snape prepares Potter for mentally fighting Voldemort because Voldemort's in Harry's head. Harry briefly accesses Snape's mind and learns a bit about his father. That is not that great. Harry has a discussion with Sirius Black, the family tree wall that Sirius' family has. Harry feels like a bad guy due to his connection with Voldemort, but is reminded by Sirius Black he's a good person. Hagrid returns. He met with the Giants to win their joinment. with Dumbledore's cause. Sirius Black's cousin escapes Bellatrix Lestrange. Seamus apologizes for his biases they had with Harry in the, I think, beginning of the film. Neville's past is tough because his parents were tortured by Bellatrix. So you kind of learn a little bit about Neville's troubled past. The hideout gets discovered by Umbridge using Cho Chang. Dumbledore takes the rap for the army formation, and he doesn't willingly go to Azkaban, and he teleports away. So basically, Dumbledore is told that he's going to be sent to Azkaban, but Dumbledore's like, well, you have to find me first. And he disappears. Ron Weasley's brothers prank Umbridge, and that's a pretty cool scene. There's a guy named Grobby, and he's the half brother of Hagrid, but he's a giant. Apparently he's an ice giant. He's introduced in this film. Harry sees Sirius Black's in trouble, and he rushes to help. In a vision, in a dream, kind of state, Harry sees that Sirius Black's in trouble. Interrupted by Umbridge, who crosses the line in a devious trick by Hermione, gets Umbridge captured. There's a phrase used, neither can live if the other survives. That's a phrase that was used in the film, and you're not really sure what it's specifically referring to, but you assume it's like Voldemort and Harry kind of deal, or Dumbledore and Harry. Harry has to fight Voldemort internally in his head, and he luckily beats Voldemort, but before that happens, Sirius is killed off as a character. And alright. Okay, and by the end of the film, Dumbledore and Harry have a realization where it's pretty much Dumbledore or Harry that survive, pretty much, by prophecy. That's what it means. And it ends with a trip back on the train, and yeah, that summarizes the whole film. Alright, now we're on to Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. It picks up directly from the prior film in the opening credits sequence. And the Death Eaters invade in the opening of the film. Harry's in a train station. He was going to go on a date with a black waitress, but Dumbledore appears. Dumbledore's hands are blackened. They enter a house with a guy named Horace inside. The house is kind of eerie. Dumbledore recruits Horace for Hogwarts using Harry. Harry transports to the Weasley's house. And Ginny's waiting for him. Snape protects Malfoy, who's working for Voldemort at this point. Fred and George open a magic shop, and that store looks awesome. There's a bunch of gag gifts there. Dean Thomas is dating Ginny in this film. Ron has a new love interest. Ollivander's wand shop's gone. Draco's very suspicious character in this film. And there's the question of if he's a Death Eater or not. Draco is Harry in a train sequence is beat up by Draco Malfoy. Luna helps him by fixing his nose. And you can see in the film that Harry's dealing with a lot. There's a potion class that's taken. Harry ends up with the advantage of a book, God on the Harry has the advantage of a guide who Harry has the advantage of a guide that was previously owned by the Half-Blood Prince, which informs Harry the accurate potions to make. Harry looks at a memory of when Dumbledore met Tom Riddle, aka Voldemort. There's a tryout sequence where Ron does okay for he's joining Quidditch. Hermione really likes Ron, but Ron is very oblivious. Ron has this obsessive girlfriend in the film, and it doesn't last very long. And I think by the end of the film, Ron and Hermione are closer. Harry takes liquid luck and gets information he needs. Tom Riddle learned a spell which he used to split himself into 7 Horcruxes. Dumbledore and Harry learn this. Harry and Dumbledore go on a journey to destroy a Horcrux. When they return, Dumbledore is killed by Snape and falls to the ground below. So he falls from a high tower. Snape's the Half-Blood Prince. One thing I see in this moment is Snape's not fighting Harry. He's just pushing Harry out of the way. So there's a sequence in the film where Harry is chasing after Snape in bitter revenge, trying to fight back, but Snape's not trying to pull any Avada Kedavras. He's just pushing Harry out of the way, and I just thought that was an interesting way to deal with the situation. Dumbledore lies still as everyone mourns. Hogwarts seems empty now, and there's a question of who is RAB, and now it's time to find the Horcruxes. Harry, Ron, and Hermione join Harry in destroying Horcruxes. And they agree to it. In this movie, they agree to help Harry, and the movie ends with them taking in the scenery like in the third film. Kind of like how that was. Kind of like how that one ended. Okay, I'm going to take in a moment now to just kind of go over just summarize the best I can the 2 Deathly Hallows films. So the best I can. I'll try again. Alright, I kind of misplaced my notes on Deathly Hallows in general, but I recently saw the films Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2 to kind of refresh my mind on the Harry Potter films. I actually went through a whole marathon to make this video. I took a lot of notes, which is what you can see me reading in some of this video. Well, basically, to summarize Deathly Hallows Part 2. The first film, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they are on a quest to destroy all the Horcruxes, and in this process, there's a jealousy between Ron and Harry. He believes that Harry and Hermione have something going on, but that's resolved by the end of the first film. There's a neat scene where basically Harry and Ron and Hermione, they take a polyjuice potion to turn it into people who work for the ministry, magical ministry, and they find information they need to I think it was on a quest for Horcruxes, and I think they get the information that they need in Part 1. And Part 2 is just an epic finale where so many characters get and Part 2 is an epic finale where so much happens. It's an epic finale. A few characters get killed off. Few central characters get killed off, including I think Fred Weasley. Well, definitely one of the twins. Ron's ex from the 6th film. Also Mad-Eye Moody definitely goes in this film. Oh, Lupin and his girlfriend. Yep. Yep. And Neville becomes a hero, kills the snake. So it goes past being the awkward kid in the first film to being the hero in this film, which is a neat sequence. And there's a character named Seamus who early films tends to blow things up with his wand. Well, his abilities needed in the final film. A lot of the Hogwarts students become heroes and save the day, and Harry finally defeats Voldemort. It's a great film. Really enjoyed it. This is like a reflection portion where I just kind of talk about stuff relating to Harry Potter and my opinion, like really getting into that. And yeah, that's what this portion is. Let's begin the reflection portion. Alright, so I grew up on the Harry Potter books and movies, every one that came out. And I'd see the posters for them, like, okay, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, that's in theaters now, or getting the VHS tapes. I remember getting the Sorcerer's Stone back when on a VHS tape, and I remember I used to always play this game of trying to rewind it on a VCR and having to wait like 30 minutes for it being completely rewound, and then I'd start playing and I was like, oh yay, Harry Potter, it's so great. And I remember seeing the books in stores, like, ooh, new J.K. Rowling novel, like her picture would be up, and you'd see the books out, and I always thought that was interesting. I'd always like take a little read through. One thing I question is how future generations will see the series. Now that all the books are out and all the films are out, I feel like there's in some way a less of a anticipation for the films. Less of an anticipation for Harry Potter that I grew up with. You can see it all at once now. You can read them in a marathon way and get what you want. I just wonder if future generations will be able to get the same level of feeling that I do. But I think they probably will, because it's a well-written series. It's a great saga. So if you're future generations, And when I think about like what probably dates the films a little bit, I think the only one that really maybe have the problem with like the dating and graphics is the first film. A lot of the CGI effects in the first film are very dated. I think that might, be a little bit of a setback, but the rest of the effects seem to have advanced quite a lot by the time the films ended. So, but I think all the films will go down as classics, and in fact, probably by now they're already classics. I mean, this is a very great saga. I see how holidays kind of influence the storytelling in the film. Like, there's plenty of sequences where they're celebrating Christmas or Halloween. That's in the series a lot. And when I think of the certain characters in the film, like Neville, for example, he starts out as like this very nerdy guy who, nerdy kid who can't really, he's just very awkward. And then by the end of the film, he's like a hero who stands up to the bad guys. He saves Hermione and Ron from being attacked by Nagini, kills Nagini, which is a Horcrux. So he has a good part in destroying a Horcrux, which is something. Then there's Ginny, who was the kid sister of Ron, who becomes Harry Potter's love interest. You get to see how that forms, and that's kind of interesting. You get to see how the romance between Ron and Hermione begins to start, which is neat. You can also see Harry's evolution and character development. Also, when you realize that Snape's a good guy in the film, you get to see, kind of look back at the films and really see what made Snape the good guy. That I think if you were to first watch through the films, you wouldn't see it. you know. But if you look through it a second time, you'll start to go, wait, oh, okay, here's when Snape's being a good guy, you know, and helping out Harry. And you can also see the shift between the two actors who played Dumbledore, and really what makes them different, kind of deal. And yeah, I've seen advertisements for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and I'm kind of eager to go there sometime. So that would be neat. I think it'd be neat to go to Ollivander's and get one of those wands. I know it's cheesy, but kind of interested in that. One thing I've noticed a lot is like the prequels and stuff and how badly rated they are. The Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I think that's what the series is called. I think it's a trilogy. I don't think there's like a 4th, 5th, 6th film. But maybe there is. But all I know is I saw the first film and I was like, eh. And the second one's rated pretty terrible. And really don't know what to make of it. And I've also heard about a stage play that was written, and it was turned into a book. And I don't really think it was necessarily completely written by J.K. Rowling, but basically it's called Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and it kind of destroys elements of what made the Harry Potter film so good because of the stuff it messes with. Stuff it hints at, stuff it's saying in the book. But I haven't gotten a chance to read it. I've seen like reviews on it and stuff, and I'm just like, I'll have to read it sometime to kind of get the idea for like what it's trying to say. But in closing, I just curious about the effects of the film. You know, I was curious about the film itself. That concludes my video. Have a great day.
This video has me thinking, what'd I do if I can go back in time? Your hair sucks! That's just mean.